Welcome to the Hitchhikers and Appetizers podcast, coming to you via the sub-Ethernet from Booth 42 at Millyways, also known as the restaurant at the end of the universe. I'm Trellis Gardeen.
And I am Horatio Zinn, and we are correspondents for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Now, normally, correspondents for the guide actually travel to the places they write about and see the wondrous sights of the universe in person.
However, we have found a loophole in the guide's expense submission system that allows us to submit entries and have our dinner and drinks completely paid for.
We can do our jobs and never leave the comfort of Millyways.
And so we will be interviewing the many interesting beings who dine here and use the information gleaned from them as fodder for our guide entries.
Now, in case you're wondering how we can all understand each other, the answer is simple.
And totally impossible.
If you're hearing us, that means you're near a guide that has the Babelfish plugin, which allows it to translate and broadcast our podcast directly into your mind.
Whether you like it or not.
In this, our very first episode, we're interviewing ourselves.
Because we haven't gotten anyone to sit down with us yet.
So roll up your towel into a pillow, lean back, and
get drunk. Get very, very, very drunk.
Shut up and sit down.
Let's just pretend that we've never met. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Glandar, which is in the Crab Nebula, outside of Orion's Belt.
Is there any particular reason one would want to visit your planet, or is there a particular reason that on the other side of that you do not live there anymore?
Our planet is the universe's epicenter of plastic surgery.
Ooh.
Not only do we, fix little things that may be annoying you, we can actually make you look like any sort of species.
Very useful, especially for the trend conscious.
Yes, it's a very trendy planet. Lots of famous celebrities are there.
They work on their lower regions, or it's secret?
Both, usually.
Probably best.
I worked as a receptionist, and it just became very repetitive. I thought it would be far more glamorous than it really turned out to be.
That's right. Is any of the knowledge from working in the plastic surgery reception industry, has that given you a foundation for your work as a reporter?
I've used it to exchange services for goods on various planets. People are, if you tell them, they're ugly enough, they eventually want to change it, and then I can offer them the services.
That is insidious.
All plastic surgery is insidious.
It is. This is not the kind of plastic surgery where you change the interior, just totally exterior plastic surgery.
They can work on the inside and the outside on Glandar. It's a full service, but more often than not, it's. I want the abs of Trachonicus, the Great, because as we know, his 18-pack is...
It's expansive.
Yes.
Very expansive. No, that would take... that we could do a whole other episode on him.
Very good. And so, Horatio, what about your planet? Where do you hail from?
I hail from Schenectady. You can go right by the planet. You can visit the planet. You can live there for 10 years, and you will probably have missed seeing it. It has so little to offer. But there are of course, as every world has its diamonds. One of the finest things on Schenectady is we have some of the most expansive miles and miles of flat highway you have ever seen. The features on our planet, the distinctive features, are so dear to us because there's so few of them.
Now, do these highways actually connect anything, or are they just going to nowhere?
You don't know until you get there. That is the adventure of living on Schenectady. We do not have schedules because you never know where you're going to end up or whether you're going to just go to a dead end.
Why be tied down by a calendar and time?
Right, exactly. Why be tied down by any kind of logical organization.
How does anybody get anything done?
That is the pursuit on Schenectady, to actually achieve something. It doesn't matter. It could be that you actually finally made it to your kitchen, which on our world, because again, bad planning, the kitchen in your house could be miles and miles and miles away from your den. And this doesn't mean you live in a large house. It just means that the other rooms in your house are scattered around on the planet.
Now, what would happen if your neighbor's den was next to yours? Why not just use that? Squatters' rights.
That case, if your neighbor's den was next to your den, there would probably eventually be some kind of feud over noise levels. More wars have been fought over stereo sound than probably any other kind of wars or conflicts on our world.
So you mentioned the roads connecting things. If a hitchhiker were to come to your planet and you were going to say, you need to see this, what is it?
Right, what is the thing? Well, that stands out the most is probably our monument to spoiled food. Many people they don't believe the food is actually spoiled. They think it's a gimmick. And then after they eat it, it does not take that long to learn that it's not just an expression.
One thing that's interesting about Millyways.
Yes.
And I learned this.
Yes.
On the way to the booth.
Oh.
Is that they have recently upgraded the sensors in the restaurant so that it can replicate whatever it is you want to eat, because it can scan your genetic code for what the cuisine is local to your home planet.
And it can tell you before you even order, I'm sorry, we're out of that, or we don't have it it's not in season.
Exactly. And in which case, it will recommend something from maybe a planet that's similar.
A food that
does not necessarily taste, but it will look.
You will look like you are eating the cuisine that you require.
Even if it tastes horrible, apparently.
And with plastic surgery to food, that is a question. Is there a food plastic surgery industry? I'm sorry, I keep glomming back onto the plastic surgery, but it seems to keep coming back to me.
Some people do want their food to look as good as they do, both prior to it going on the plate. So they want their animals to look good before they have to do the unfortunate task of turning them into dinner. But yes, it is a growing industry service, but we can make it look like whatever you want.
That's beautiful. You can make a hot dog look like a bratwurst
if you so wish.
That would be more like that's almost like a tummy tuck. That's a very modern. Seems like that would be a very minor surgery.
Yes.
Well, there we go. There we go. Good value. And as hitchhikers attempting to survive on very little money, it's always good to note that you should order the bratwurst over the hot dog because it is a better value.
They're very filling. They're going to get you to your next port that you want to go to.
If you need to replicate waste, they do provide ballast for that.
Correct.
Which is important, of course. Many planets do weigh you before they allow you to arrive or leave.
They want to make sure there's a constant equilibrium in terms of what's coming on and going off the planet.
Yes, yeah.
So Horatio, what are some of the music or art, the higher pursuits on your planet?
Art. Again, we are, as you can tell, I'm a bit obsessed with food. We do have, in terms of art, one of our greatest structures, and it's a natural structure. We learned later that it looks like something. On some planets, they have a thing called a popsicle. Some planets, a dreamsicle, I've heard. Although I think that may contain hallucinogenic properties. People come from all over the planet when they can find it to adore it. Is
this a religious awakening when it happens and people just are amazed?
It can be a religious experience. Many have hallucinated after licking the formation. It contains certain chemicals. Now, the problem is, though, that the actual popsicle part of the stick, picture this. Like a popsicle, a fudgesicle stuck standing in the ground. You have to stand on the shoulders of other pilgrims in order to actually get up high enough to lick it. We try not to investigate too much on it, out of fear that we will have something explained to us and that we do not like the explanation. How much surgery have you had done? That's something we probably should have covered earlier.
I had some work done before I decided to go become a citizen of the galaxy. I did, I assumed better looks would open more doors, and then the head of the practice I was at decided to try a new procedure out, and all of my organs are now sentient.
Oh, I did not. They are all aware. All aware?
My 2 hearts are always annoyed when I'm eating fatty foods. The 3 livers are obviously upset and not happy with me when we're drinking Pan-Galactic Gargle Blasters. But the kidneys and the lungs I actually get along with quite well.
Do they actually speak to you?
You can imagine to my surprise, because it wasn't instant. I didn't just come out of the surgery. It was like my organs were talking to me and saying, "Oh, Trellis, how are you? You've been jamming space trash into your mouth for the last year, and I'm not happy about it." It became over time. I really just thought I was hearing things for a while, and then they got a little bit more vociferous and direct. It was a little unnerving the first time it happened.
I can understand that. I would think that would be something that gradual would be less disturbing than immediate. I'm just fascinated by this. And of course, it is you brought up an interesting point too for some of our listeners, especially those in the less organically developed civilizations. That you have 2 hearts. How many livers? 3 livers.
Basically, they pass off the job as one liver collapses from sheer exhaustion. The next one picks it up, then the next one picks it up, and then hopefully by the time the third one reaches its point, the first one's ready to get back in the game and start metabolizing alcohol.
I was going to ask if in fact all the livers survive, if they did regenerate or rejuvenate.
Well, that's why we have 3. They don't rejuvenate in our physical bodies. They rotate. It's like birds flying in a V.
So they rest up for a while, different shifts.
One's taking the lead, and the other ones are supporting. Then eventually the lead one gets tired and sort of falls back, and the next one steps in and takes over and does all the work. Or at least most of it. It's science. And my livers are actually arranged in that pattern. And they do move. It's actually quite painful when they decide they've had enough metabolizing of alcohol and other horrible things in my body that I put into it.
You need to drink more in order to deal with the shifting organs.
When they get out of line and start complaining and talking bad to me, well, I just start drinking more. And
well, that does quiet them down.
It does. I have to be careful, though, because there is a limit. Because if I drink too much and it's too quick, and the third one's getting ready to fall down into the V formation, and the first one isn't ready to resume his duties, then I'm going to die.
That is interesting to know. I will file that away if I ever need to kill you. There are some planets where the creatures only have 1 of each organ.
That's ridiculous. 1 of each organ?
Or two in some cases. I find that to be highly impractical.
Redundancy is the savior of the universe. How could we get by on 1 organ?
Well, even if you don't keep all of those organs in your body at the same time, you should at least have some in reserve somewhere. Safe deposit box, maybe even just a cooler in your garage. It just makes no sense to not have a backup.
Completely.
That just seems irresponsible in the grand design.
Now, I can say we have been contracted to go to some other planets for the higher end clientele. And if they have someone who is willing to donate, we will kill them, take their organs, and give them to the rich person.
Oh,
it makes sense when it's a very profitable model.
Well, that's just good business. Now, especially if you're selling the organs to someone wealthy. It seems going the other way would not be so profitable.
The less financially well off, as I like to use the term, or how I phrase it, they're not good at paying for their organs. Let's just put it that way. You can't pay for an organ transplant with $30 Altarian dollars a day. I won't even. They wouldn't even mark the spot they're supposed to cut on my planet.
No, you can barely. I mean, you can't even get an appointment for that much.
The answering machine won't even turn on. It knows. It knows the sound of someone who can't pay when they call. There's a certain amount of stress and desperation in their voice that the system can pick up, and it just knows to completely does not even answer it.
Fascinating.
But the rich are completely relaxed because they know they have the money to pay for it. And when they call, they're just, you can hear
Right.
you can hear the money coming out of them.
Like literally. Do they actually secrete money? Or are you speaking symbolically?
Some species do actually secrete the liquid that we use for money on our planet, and that actually works out quite nicely.
Liquid.
And yes, liquid money. And then that way, instead of having to create, some planets I've seen these metal round discs that they stamp different values on. We can just measure out the amount of liquid we think it's supposed to cost. And then you pay for it. And you pay for it quite easily. And so there's never any need for change. You always pay the exact amount. It's perfect, in my opinion.
I can see how that would work. Yes. Our planet, Schenectady, is, of course, can be translated as bad planning. Planet of bad planning.
Talking about the bad planning.
Yes.
If there's no planning, do you have any customs?
We happen upon a number of customs. One is giving up and digging a ditch and lying in it. And oftentimes down many roads, you will find many ditches with many people who have just given up completely.
Do fights ever break out over the ditch?
They have. Someone will dig a ditch, then discover there is already another being in the ditch, and then the decision is: do you say "excuse me" and cover that other being back up, and then lie on top of that, or do you just cover them up? It's again bad planning. Because you'd think that if you had dug a ditch and filled it in with your dirt on yourself, you would put up a flag of some sort to let others know you were there. That's a tradition on the planet, is forgetting to carry things that are practical. When you come visit our world, the first thing we do is ask if you have anything practical on you. We take it from you forcibly. No maps. Maps are anathema.
Sounds like someone could spend a lot of time on your planet.
And go nowhere. Come to Schenectady, you may never find your way home.
Since we're going to be here a long time will never end because the time circuits will take us right back to where we started, and then we just get to eat again.
I plan never to leave here. Although I should note that, and I can't speak for you. You probably should address this yourself. I am from a culture where we do have to remove bodily waste. So every so often I have to navigate the restrooms.
In my plastic surgery kit, I have an infinity bladder in there.
Infinity bladder?
Along with the infinity colon.
The infinity colon?
It's actually really, when you open it, it creates a gateway.
You reach into your own colon?
No, it's reaching back into the equipment room at my old office.
But where is the gateway? Your gateway is the colon? I'm trouble visualizing this.
The gateway is in the portable plastic surgery kit.
I misunderstood. I thought this is infinity colon was some kind of a wormhole in your body.
Well, it is, but it's a separate item that we can install as a plastic surgery upgrade. Why have a limited short manual colon when you can have an infinity colon?
Even longer than...
So the waste never actually leaves you. It's just infinite.
Just continues to travel through your body?
Yes, exactly.
What's the benefit of that?
It's ticklish.
That's the point, is just to tickle you.
It gives you a little bit of a tickle. It may end up in another dimension, but we never know because it's infinitely long, and it eventually just keeps going.
Just keeps going. It will never stop.
It never stops. It never leaves you, but it never fills up either. And you never have to go to use a regular, disgusting spaceport bathroom, and you've seen the restrooms.
Millyways, the restrooms, it can take forever just trying to find the right stall.
There's a lot of stalls down there.
There are many stalls.
And I have not figured out their iconography because none of what is on those doors looks like what I am.
No, I don't know. And also they use symbolic figures that do not look real in the first place. And then you think, but I have seen beings that looked exactly like those symbolic figures.
And the attendant down there, that poor gentleman has just the worst job.
How many different types of towels are there in the universe? Hand towels to hand out are there?
That's why, as we know, we always carry our towel, so I don't have to, I feel guilty asking him for one. I felt guilty. I have my own towel. He's dealing with a Marfon when I was in line.
Oh.
And it was not happy.
No, none of them are.
They're very cranky. And he looked incredibly scared that he did not have a towel.
I would be.
They have their rituals of how they towel their hands off. And first, obviously, and it requires 100 towels.
Yes, just put per finger.
Exactly, per finger, one towel per finger, and then one giant towel for the palms.
And that is where most of the dirt and filth really adheres, because of the way they have to hold their genitalia fully in the palm.
I am always uncomfortable shaking their hands.
No, I dated one for a while. It was interesting.
Really?
Yes, just for a brief period. It was my third college. Met at a party. One thing led to another. The next thing I know, I'm toweling off the palm. That was how I knew that we had finished the sexual act.
Oh.
By toweling off the palm.
But you didn't realize that until you were done.
I did not know, and I thought perhaps I should have known that, been alerted that I should start enjoying myself previous to that. But the sex was difficult.
It was just high fives.
Yes.
Nothing but high fives and slaps.
It's difficult and unsatisfying is the review that I would give it.
Well, especially since your hands are not your genitalia.
No, and my hands are not compatible.
Nope.
Not compatible. When you were younger, did you ever think, oh, this is my goal. I'm going to be a correspondent for the Guide who doesn't actually travel? Was that something that was always in your mind?
No, it was not.
Ah.
Because again, on our planet, receptionists are actually very well off if you are at a good plastic surgery practice.
So again, your currency is liquid. You in a sense piss gold.
Well, we don't urinate our money, as that's what you're talking about.
That was my question. Is I did not understand how you could run out of currency if you excreted it.
No. Well, the attendant drank the LQ I put into his cup.
Right.
Because obviously, how am I going to pay him? I can't just squirt it on him. It's going to roll onto the floor. All that money would be gone.
I misinterpreted the squirting. I wanted to make sure it was clear for our listeners. Because my memory, as you know, is fleeting.
Hence why plan if it's not going to even be there?
No, you plan something, you totally forget the plan. What's the point of planning in the first?
Exactly. It's a complete waste of time.
Yes, that's another slogan for the tourism board.
Coming here will be a complete waste of time. You know what? I think I am going to write down my entry for your planet. Let's see. We're going to hear it. And Schenecticus. There is no entry for it, which is perfect because that's going to be paying for my meal.
Very good. I will write one down for yours.
The entry, a complete waste. All right. Hold on. Spell check. Tome, not tome. Time.
Actually, it would be perfectly appropriate if you misspelled, left letters, words out. It would make perfect sense.
You know what? A complete waste of. Let me just edit that. Complete waste of, because it'll, in the spirit of your planet, it will look like I just gave up writing the entry.
A complete waste of. Yes.
A complete waste of.
Even misspell of. That could be.
I did. It's UV.
UV. Very good. Very good.
All right. Very good. There is my entry sent. My dinner is paid for today, sir.
And mine. Yes, I have to make sure. I have to readorn all the letters here to make sure that they are perfect.
And I was going to say, make sure they are. Make sure it's a pretty font.
Oh, and I added several unnecessary tildes, but they are aesthetically pleasing. And sin.
Excellent. That brings us to the end of our very first episode.
I've learned so much. I had so much that I've forgotten about you that I relearned today.
And I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner because I've learned so much. You've learned so much. Listeners, I feel like you've probably learned way more than you ever wanted to. And you never had to leave your home planets. I never have to leave this booth ever again. Thank you for tuning in.
About time for my third galactic art lesson.
We will talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining us for Hitchhikers and Appetizers. And of course, thanks to our guests, us. I have been Horatio Zinn.
And I continue to be Trellis Gardeen. Until next time, keep your towels clean, and if you end up in the total perspective vortex, remember, it's just a piece of fairy cake. So don't panic.
Everything you heard in this episode was improvised, but not everything improvised was heard. This episode of Hitchhikers and Appetizers featured the voice talents of Mike Gorgone as Trellis Gardeen and Bran Peacock as Horatio Zinn. Finally, Hitchhikers and Appetizers is part of the Improv in Action Network. Check out other great improvised podcasts and projects at improvinaction.com. If you'd like to reach out to Trellis or Horatio, you can send electronic messages to them at our Galaxy address, hitchappspodcast@gmail.com. Or you can find them on Twitter with the handle hitchapps.
Shut up and sit down.